Welcome to the weekly gaming blast. I'm your host AkibanaZero.
And I'm Rue the Gamer. Hello.
Hey man, you just came
Hello.
back from EGX.
I have indeed come from EGX and I've only just recovered.
You've only just recovered. Was it that crazy?
Well, it's more that last night is the first good night's sleep I've had before I went to EGX.
And then they say nerds don't party hard, right?
Oh no, we definitely party hard, just not in the alcohol and drugs way. We just party hard in the playing so many games way, which is better because it's less addictive, kinda, maybe.
Maybe there are studies that are trying to contradict that, but
Yeah,
let's
there's
stick to
arguments
what
either
we
way,
know.
so let's go. Let's just move on from
Yeah, we're
if
not
we
gonna enter
can.
that discussion. No, not at all, not at all. Right, right. So you're gonna get into telling us all that, but right, just like really quickly, what was your general impression of the expo?
General impression of the expo is that it was okay, to be fair. There was a lot of floor space that wasn't utilized. There was a lot of things that could have been there that weren't there, that were slightly erroneous that they were missing. I've written several reports about it. They're all on Rue the Gamer. So one of the things I expected to be there was Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I mean, that's only like 2 months away,
Yeah,
really, if you think about it, because we're just coming into October. It comes out very early December. I'd have expected that to be there, which it wasn't. But the stuff which was there was great. Like
great,
almost all of it was great. Even on platforms that I don't play, the games were great. So
awesome. Yeah,
yeah, it's a good event.
as for what you told me, you played a lot of DB Fighter Z, right?
I did play a lot of Dragon Ball Fighters. Yes,
Oh, I
it's in fact it's the one game that I was just like, no, I need to play it again. No, I need to play it again. I need to play it again, and I just kept returning to that segment
I'm so
over
jelly,
and over and over.
so jelly, so freaking jelly right now. But you enjoyed it, right? It's a great game.
I did. Yeah, it's a very very good game. Like the fact that the game is as solid as it is now, and it's not even out until February. If they just add characters, then put the game out exactly as it is now, like functionally, it would be great. Like the game is pretty much, if they shipped it now exactly as is with the characters it has now, the roster would be lacking, yes, but the game is so solid and the visuals are so like pristine and really well made. It's a very good game, even at this point.
I like it. I've been watching people stream the beta, and it seems like they're already incorporating the similar kind of lobby system that we find in Guilty Gear and Blaze Blue, which is amazing, considering certain other fighting
Mm.
games didn't do that even on release. But yeah, we're not going to mention names. I've made a promise. Well,
I know which game you mean as well.
and with regards to that, I am officially saying I will be returning to Street Fighter V. Not that a lot of people care, but I'm just saying I was on a hiatus, so I'm gonna be diving in once more.
It'll be good to see you there. I was one thing about EGX that stuck out for me, like particularly. I mean, I'll go more into EGX, like just a few new bits from EGX while I'm when we're in the short and sweet section. But the Capcom Pro Tour was obviously the premiere event was there, and getting to see like proper high level play live with me being there was so thrilling and so exciting that it really makes me want to properly jump back into five again.
Ooh, nice. Glad to hear that. Yeah, that must have been a pretty killer event. We had some Brighton people over there too that didn't do too badly, from what I
Yep, we
understand.
did.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was good to meet that see those guys there as well. I haven't seen those guys since I left Brighton, so it was really good to see them.
Awesome, great. And with that, have you been playing anything these days?
The main game I've been playing the last week has been Metroid: Samus Returns.
Yeah, obviously.
After the live unboxing I did last week. Um, well, the game is incredible. I've finished it now. I finished it 100% because I tanked that game. It it's good to the extent that I couldn't put it down, and I haven't had a game like that in a long time. Um, I think the last game I had that with was the original Dark Souls, where I started playing and I physically couldn't stop playing. I had to keep going. It's not without its issues, of course not, but the game itself is really good. Um, yeah, really, really good game. Really, definitely worth the wait from. Well, what is it? The like 3 month wait after E3. Definitely worth it.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Yeah, it looks like a pretty solid game, and it's a Metroid after. How many years has it been since the last proper Metroid?
So we're not counting Other M, are we? Um,
I guess we could count it. I mean, let's be a little fair. They did make another Metroid.
I think
Metroid,
other wasn't Other M. I want to say Other M was 2009. I want to say.
something like that. Yeah,
So that's a good 8 years.
it's a good 8 years. Yeah, that's a long time. Although we
Mm,
had to wait way longer between games like Street Fighter 3, for instance, and Street Fighter 4. But yeah, that's
yeah.
yeah, that's fighting games right there.
So what have you been playing? I'm assuming more Destiny.
I've been playing a lot of Destiny, and I have to say that I have come into the thing that has kind of disappointed me, and that is the
Go.
raid. The raid is not. I don't want to like. Okay, I understand the direction they went with this raid. It's just I feel it's not rewarding. You spend a lot of time doing frustrating things, which is kind of. I'm not gonna go into explaining how it's happened, how it works. It doesn't work exactly like like a raid like the Vault of Glass, for instance, which is the original raid from Destiny 1, but you don't feel rewarded. You don't get actual drops. You get tokens that you can use to buy gear from a vendor who exists at the end of the raid. And to me, that's silly because I can't just sit there for hours and hours and hours to try and finish a raid just to get my gear. Like, I should be able to get a drop from the very first boss or the first encounter, if you want to call it that, because there are no so far I haven't encountered a true boss in that sense in in the Destiny 2 raid. It's kind of frustrating, and the community doesn't like it either. So it's a bit of a blemish right now in an otherwise really massive improvement on the original game.
So if I've got this right, and I've heard actually similar criticisms from other from YouTubers, etc. Um, Bungie have made massive improvements on Destiny 2 from Destiny 1, but they've made certain missteps, and those missteps are growing in kind of severity the longer that they are allowed to fester there. So like with this thing with the raids, it's becoming more of a thing the longer it takes them to acknowledge it or sort it out,
When it,
because the community latches on and then it grows.
More or less, you're kind of right, and I would better describe it by saying this is like the game that you could ultimately say we've taken two, maybe three or four steps forward, and then we've taken a couple back, or maybe one back, or whatever. Like in previous raids, you could get drops normally from bosses. In this one, you get tokens, and you need to finish the raid in order to spend your tokens. That's silly. Why do it? I mean, it's not a very long raid, to be honest. If you can do the encounters fast enough, it doesn't take you that long to finish it. But I'm just starting out, so I'm doing one encounter maybe every week or something, maybe two encounters. How the heck am I supposed to get rewarded from these hours? I spent 4 hours on the very first encounter the other day, and I just got tokens, and that doesn't mean jack to me. I mean, I would love to have a drop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's kind of frustrating, but hopefully Bungie will take some action, because Bungie, at least we know, takes action, like listens to the community. So we're hoping that, yeah, this is going to turn around at some point.
I mean, the one question I do have for you regarding that though is it impacting your enjoyment of the game?
Not entirely. I mean, I do enjoy the things that I'm doing regularly, which is doing the missions, getting my gear, doing the regular grindy stuff. I'm enjoying it. The shooting is still unbelievably amazing, as is with Bungie pedigree. And yeah, overall, yeah, the little blemishes here and there, they don't hurt it. It's just I have to wonder, why are you making these missteps? There was no reason to change something that wasn't broken in the first game anyway.
That that makes sense. I can't argue with that rationalization. Um, but speaking of missteps, let's move on to our first controversial topic. Are we ready?
Absolutely. Oh, controversy is
Right.
what I'm all about.
Okay. First, quite honestly, because unusually we've got two controversial topics this week. Usually we only have one, but the gaming industry has spoiled us this week. So, speaking of missteps, the first First controversy that we're discussing today is revolving around PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, the game that actually very quickly became the most popular game on Steam, which is a very high accolade, really, if you think how many games are on Steam. Um, and this was the news story that broke that the developer of PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, Bluehole, um, expressed concern over a essentially a rival game called Fortnite, which has a very similar premise in terms of a whole battle royale in an open world scenario, and that the company wished to take action against the dev of Fortnite, um, citing and the word, what was the words used? The words used were that Fortnite might be replicating the experience which PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds is known for. Um, which, if this becomes something, that sets a very dangerous precedent for the games industry. Because the first thing which came to mind when I heard about this was you never saw From Software doing the same thing when Lords of the Fallen
No.
was released, in which From said, well, Lords of the Fallen is trying to replicate the experience which Dark Souls has. You didn't see it because it's, and I don't use this word lightly, it's petty. And if anything, it's a fundamental misstep by Bluehole, because the game they've made is already phenomenally popular. It's going to inspire copycats, because that's what anything popular does ever in any medium ever. I mean, all you need to do, like, this is a weird comparison, but all you need to do is look at the weird sexy books that started to come out replicating the 50 Shades of Grey principle. What's the term? It's popularity breeds imitation, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's the term. So for them to go, oh well, no, no, that's not the way it works, Bluehole. Plus, also, I played your game at EGX, and I couldn't help but think, while I was playing it, this is a rip-off of Battle Royale. So people in glass houses should not throw stones.
Which is exactly what they're calling this game type, Battle Royale type games. And actually, the original game that did this was N1Z1. And they cannot be saying in any way that PUBG is the original game that did this. So N1Z1 should totally then just sue Bluehole in that case.
Yeah. Or I think his name was his surname was Takami, but I can't remember what his first name was. The novelist who created the Battle Royale universe.
Oh yeah.
When he wrote his original novel, he should come out and say, well, PUBG has copied my principle. If this comes to anything, it sets a really horrible precedent for the games industry, because popularity breeds imitation. So they should have known that something would come not long after, once this became popular, that was using similar concepts.
I just have to clarify. First of all, I need to clarify something here. Fortnite itself, the game, is nothing like a Battle Royale game. What actually Epic Games did was create a side free to play Battle Royale out of the Fortnite game. So
yes, sorry, I didn't specify that bit. It is a mode in Fortnite.
It's a mode, and it's supposed to be free. That is the major difference from PUBG. And this is exactly the same thing that happened with Paladins, which completely copies Overwatch. It's like basically having a free-to-play Overwatch, which is an amazing option to have for people who are not willing to pay for Overwatch, but they kind of want a little bit of that Overwatch experience. It doesn't infringe on Blizzard's rights or anything. It actually basically feeds Blizzard's game. It feeds the original game, if you think about it. So what's next? Like, we're not gonna if this sets this precedent that you're talking about, then we're gonna see some kind of gaming monopoly happening. Like,
which is horrible, to be fair, because I mean, the amount of people that would have heard the term Metroidvania when talking about games like Ori and the Blind Forest and Shantae, that would have then gone, okay, so Metroidvania, that must mean something. Let's go back and play the games that clearly inspired and clearly had a lot of concepts borrowed to make this game. And to then remove that would be a horrible loss.
to be completely like, I want to put a little bit of more salt into Bluehole's wounds that are about to be opened, because they're in for a very nasty surprise with this, because it just shows just like how young they are as a developer. Okay, like your game replicates so many other action games out there, so many other survival games out there. Should they sue you in the end? Should we just like nobody else make any other action game but whoever made the first action game anyway? Like that's the idea here, is that art just you, like you said yourself, imitation. There's replication from, you know, the original art, and then from that comes new art and come new concepts and new ideas. You can't just stop that from happening, or else in the end the industry's just gonna go to shit.
Yeah, I mean, I would have absolutely. I mean, this is another kind of like side comparison on this, but I would absolutely hate for a game like Salt and Sanctuary not to exist because they didn't borrow elements from Dark Souls.
Yeah, absolutely. And we wouldn't get games
it
like
heavily
Code Vein. We wouldn't get games
No.
like Neo, whatever. We wouldn't get games like that if From Software was like, no, he did this first. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, precisely.
Speaking of an industry going to shit, yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, this is what takes the cake. I mean, a developer suing over, like, you know, imitations and stuff is nothing new, okay? But, and this same thing is not new either, but this grinds my gears, okay? 2K Games basically went up to a reviewer. What was the publication? The Six Axis reviewer who reviewed NBA 2K18 gave the game a score of 3 out of 10. So 2K Games went up to the reviewer and said, "Take your review down." Okay, so what is the problem? Basically, NBA 2K18 apparently is like overdoing it with the microtransactions. It's coming to a point where, like, they're putting a microtransaction on all of the customization for your custom NBA player, his tattoos, his eyeliner. I don't know what the fuck how you customize it. I don't play NBA games, but they have like put in up microtransactions up the wazoo. So the reviewer was like, "Come on, guys. This isn't an NBA game anymore. 3 out of 10. And whatever else he said. I didn't read the whole review. But regardless, this was his opinion. And 2K Games doesn't want him to keep that review. So they're like, "Take it down. We don't feel it's justified." But excuse me, that sets another horrible precedent, which has happened many times, and I don't think this will ever come to pass. But to go up to a reviewer who is giving an honest opinion and tell him your opinion doesn't matter and you should take it away because it ruins our sales, that's not something that's not something that should happen. That ain't right at all.
No, we shouldn't. We should not allow that to continue, because once again, like with the PUBG thing, it sets a horrible precedent for the future if this actually does come to anything. And speaking as a games journalist, I would absolutely hate. I mean, I'm very critical of Nintendo, and I write for a Nintendo site, and I would hate them to come up to me and say, "Well, you have to take that review down because we don't agree with the score you gave." Because I'd be very tempted to say, "Well, stuff you then."
But that's the point of being a reviewer, is that you're giving out an opinion. And obviously, people follow individual reviewers because they kind of share similar points of view on gaming. I follow specific reviewers because I believe in what they say. When they say that a game is trash, I agree with it. Because every time they've said it's trash and I tried it, I agreed. So at the end of the day, reviewers inform the consumers. And if consumers are not informed the way they want to be informed, then this is basically an industry that's just trying to con an entire market.
Well, it is microtransactions. It is trying to con an entire market. But I really hope Six Axis stick to their guns on this one and refuse to take down that review.
I would love to check it out and see if they actually kept it, which hopefully they have. But if they haven't, well, shame on you, Six Axis, right over there. But we'll see. Let's not make any judgments until we see it.
So, let's not dwell. Let's move on to the fun stuff, shall we?
Absolutely.
Stuff? So, first fun stuff, I'm just a very quick rundown of EGX for you, just as a quick sort of like little gloss over. So, all the big games were there, as you could expect, including some big games that just came out. So Destiny 2 had a really large segment of the floor space devoted to it. There was a huge esports section, which I spent quite a lot of time in. Dragon Ball Fighters was there, Dissidia NT was there, Forza 7, Super Mario Odyssey, Far Cry 5, Assassin's Creed Origins. So there was all of these massive games that are coming before the end of the year, and a couple that are coming very early next year, like Dissidia NT and Dragon Ball Fighters. And just the overall, and also there was a huge, and I mean huge, and it was absolutely lovely to explore, indies section. That I spent actually an inordinate amount of time on my second day in, just because I wanted to see all of these new and upcoming games, because I'm a big fan of indies. I always have been. So discovered a few games there that I never even knew existed, a couple that are actually coming to Switch, which is great. But overall, EGX was it was a fantastic experience. Like, everyone there was so friendly. All the staff was so organized and so upbeat, despite the fact that they have to deal with a lot of people over the 4 days. 4 days? Yeah, 4 days. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And all of the tournaments there were all really professionally and efficiently run. Like, the Capcom Pro Tour was so, like, it was so smooth. All the transitions were just so smooth. There was a huge Blizzard presence there this year.
Ooh.
Which I don't remember being there previous years, and it's because Blizzard have become stratospheric in terms of they've always been popular with, like, the more nerdy gamery people, but now because of Overwatch, they've become massively popular in the core mainstream gaming audience as well. So Overwatch obviously had a huge they had a huge tournament there, they had a huge kind of presence there, and Blizzard had a massive store that was selling which was selling like merchandise from all across all of their formats and all of their franchises, and it was just a really good experience. It was a really fun couple of days, and I got to play a lot of games that I wouldn't have necessarily tried, and also a lot of games that I'm unable to purchase, which is frustrating because I don't have an Xbox One. In fact, there's 2 games there that really have come close to convincing me to buy an Xbox One, which is frustrating because they're like £250, and I don't really have that money to buy a console for 2 games, but these 2 games are incredible, which are Super Lucky's Tale and Cuphead, by the way. But yeah, Cuphead, by the way, that game is stellar, absolutely stellar. But yeah, to be fair, that was EGX. That don't really have much more to say. I could go on for hours, though, to be fair.
To me, it's great to hear that, because one of the things about gaming in general, as a person who's lived most of his life in Europe, is that, you know, we haven't exactly been the center of the gaming universe. And yeah, sure, we have Gamescom, for example, and we have DreamHack, and these are some major events that occur here in Europe, but we need more. I mean, the rest of the world have so many other events, so many other expos. I mean, to hear that EGX is becoming such an incredibly big and well-organized event just means that more and more publishers and more developers want to bring their stuff there. And hopefully one day we might see, like, some major announcements happen at EGX. That would be incredible, in my opinion.
Well, it's only a matter of time. I mean, Gamescom has grown to that level now. To the point that I've had such fun at EGX, I'm actually looking into going to Gamescom next year, which would be an incredible experience. And I found out it's actually not as expensive as I thought. So that's almost definitely on the cards for next year.
I'm gonna put that in the cards as well. I definitely want to start getting into more expos soon. Wow, it's getting dark.
We should go.
We should.
Like, a podcast live from Gamescom.
We're okay. We're putting that in. We're putting a pin on that. It definitely should happen. I'm gonna put that in the cards for sure. Right, Gamescom. When is that? Is that usually in the spring? Right.
It's August.
It's August.
It's August.
It's in August. Oh. Oh. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we got ways to go. All right. We'll keep that in mind. Yeah. Great. Awesome. So yeah. Now my hype train, because I'm really hyped, because finally Monster Hunter World has a release date, January 26th. A lot fucking earlier, sorry, beep. A lot earlier than I expected. Much earlier.
That is a lot closer.
A lot
Yeah, when I
closer.
read that release date, I was like, that okay, so that's been in development for a long time.
This is Capcom's saving grace with me. Monster
Yeah.
Hunter. Yeah, well, I am super excited, and I've been more excited with the trailers that released, especially that latest one where they showed like a bunch of monsters like you haven't seen before in a Monster Hunter game. Usually, monsters in MH are really, really weird and really funky and some really cool monsters, but this time they're like upping the ante. There was this weird dragon sheep looking kind of monster that just floats around around you like a cloud and just I don't know how else to describe it. It was a bananas trailer to me. Like I just so many new monsters, tons of new weapons and armor. I don't know. I'm blown away. The game looks incredibly beautiful. Did you get any hands on with it at EGX?
I saw it at EGX, but there was always too many. There was always too many queues for me, considering the fact that I had much more prevalent games I wanted to play. But in motion, I will give it that it does look a lot less clunky and cumbersome than any previous Monster Hunter game.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, as long as it still
so
feels,
if it
yeah.
is less cumbersome, I might actually give it a shot.
Ooh, we might be getting we might have start a hunting party. Definitely should.
Well, that'd be fun.
That would be fun. It looks beautiful. I've been watching some of the other stuff that RX Gaming and other places on YouTube have been showing off stuff. The character creator looks incredible. The environments, all of the hub town looks great. The crafting looks amazing. I'm glad they're bringing back the palicos, which are the little cat things that follow you around and help you out in the fights and stuff. It's all like they're tying up the universe of Monster Hunter very nicely, and they're making it a far more grandiose than it actually is on handhelds like Nintendo 3DS. So I'm glad they're really taking advantage of the power of the PS4 to bring this entire world to life.
And not to mention, it does look I have to second what you said. It looks incredible from a graphical and visual standpoint.
It looks like such a gorgeous game. I'm really every new trailer that comes out, it looks even better and even better than before, and I'm just so excited for this game. I think it's I don't know, it might knock off Destiny from one of my really really often played games.
Well, at least you've got a few months with Destiny before it comes out.
True, but we do have expansions.
Oh yes, expansions. I forgot they're still a thing, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Whilst we're talking about surprises, something, we'll cover TGS more in detail later, but Final Fantasy IX was stealth released on PSN during Tokyo Game Show. It was announced and then it just appeared the next day on PlayStation Network. And I could not be happier. Final Fantasy IX is by far my favourite of the the three golden era Final Fantasies of 7, 8, and 9. 9 by far is my favourite. I've seen it played on PS4, and all of the sprites and all of the locations are all cleaned up in terms of aesthetic. All of the music hasn't changed, which is fantastic, but also they've incorporated in the features that were in the 7 release on PS4. So you're able to speed it up, you're able to kind of cheat the game in certain ways, so you can instantly refill your health, you can instantly do the most powerful attacks in the game. And you can bypass entire battles if you want to. You can turn off random encounters. So the whole game, if you wanted to get into Final Fantasy IX, but you find the battle system cumbersome or you don't like turn-based battles, this is the time to play one of the best narratives that was on the PS1, hands down, in my opinion. And only £12 or something like that. I think it's $12.99.
If you're on PS Plus right now, I think you still have a couple of days left to get it at a lower price, because it's PS Plus and it was for a week after they announced it. So I think it's just a couple or maybe 3 days more. But yeah, definitely pick it up. It's definitely apparently worth it. It's the only Final Fantasy I haven't sunk my teeth into, because I have to admit, back when it first announced, I thought the main character looked lame, and I didn't want to play it. But I was quite young back then, so it just, I had Cloud, and then I had Squall, and then I had a guy with a tail. That's how it like kind of played out in my mind, which is silly, but yeah. I'm all in. I bought the game and I'm ready to, dive in at some point and start playing it because yeah, I also want to get some of that, classic Final Fantasy on.
Proper JRPG goodness. Speaking of which, Final Fantasy 15 Comrades mode finally has a release date, which is the October 31st, so Halloween. This is something I've been looking forward to for quite a while. Because Final Fantasy 15, I actually really loved that game. It was my game of the year for last year. My like hands down, no questions asked game of the year for last year. And the Comrades mode is the ability to play online with a team of people to take down powerful monsters in a similar to, but obviously not the same as, Monster Hunter style fashion, in which all four of you team up to take down a gigantic foe, using kind of custom characters that you can create in the editor, in a actually, by the looks of things, incredibly robust character editor. And I've been waiting for this because I decided that Comrades would be the point that I would, one, buy the season pass for Final Fantasy 15, and two, get back into playing Final Fantasy 15 after I finished it earlier on this year.
We should definitely do a release stream on that then, you and I.
Oh, are you going to get Comrades? Yes, we totally should. I was gonna stream horror games on Halloween, but that sounds much more fun.
I would absolutely do it. Yeah, I mean, I don't have the season pass, but I will definitely buy that DLC. It sounds like something that might tide me over a little bit before Monster Hunter comes out.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a great mode, and as long as it's robust enough, and as long as it lasts long enough. I mean, to be fair, with the season pass, I end up getting the episodes of the other three characters, plus also various other little bits as well. So it doesn't particularly matter if Comrades doesn't hold my attention for a massive amount of time, because I'll have other story content to work through. But I've been looking forward to this mode ever since it was announced.
I'm glad you're looking forward to it, and it sounds really interesting to me as well. I didn't appreciate the combat of Final Fantasy 15 as much. I don't know, maybe I wasn't playing it right. I don't know. It just felt sometimes like I don't get what I'm supposed to be doing, and it was very easy for me to like die or lose a lot of health or constantly be in a situation where I'm dying and I don't know why this is happening. But yeah, I mean, I'll give it a go. I'll definitely do a stream with you on that game.
Yeah, that sounds fun. All right, let's pencil that in. That's a
There,
certainty now.
stamped down. It's right over there. Whoa, speaking of stamps, EA kind of almost attempted murder recently. Well, recently. They've been doing it quite a bit. The EA attempted to cripple and kill a studio, specifically the studio called Slightly Mad Studio. What was the game that they made for EA? Yeah, it was Project no, they were the ones who did Project Cars. So it's basically a racing studio, Slightly Mad Studio, and I think they did one of the Need for Speeds for EA, and basically what happened was that EA attempted to take away a bunch of their staff, and actually succeeded. They succeeded in poaching a lot of the studio's staff to put them into their own projects. And but CEO Ian Bell basically, I don't know, put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and managed to get back his staff and keep his studio alive. And he had a lot of strong language to dish out towards EA about this. He's basically saying you shouldn't work with these people. They almost wrecked us. And I don't know, to me that was like kind of a sad situation, because I don't know. I mean, big giant Goliath corporations trying to harm smaller studios. There's something wrong with that. That's something truly wrong.
The thing is, EA do that a lot.
Yeah, well,
they do that.
It is EA. I mean, to be sure.
I mean, didn't they do that to Visceral Games, the people that made Dead Space?
Ah, yes, indeed. Indeed, there was that debacle.
Visceral. Yep, they did that to Visceral. Didn't they do that to BioWare, or specifically the branch of BioWare that made Andromeda as well?
Yeah, but they basically absorbed BioWare in a sense, right?
But they shut down the studio that made Andromeda.
Hmm.
I think it was BioWare. Was it BioWare Montreal? No, it was one of the BioWare branches that made Andromeda. They shut those down too. EA is just a you haven't reached it yet, but EA is like Aldrich in Dark Souls 3, just consuming everything in its path until it just becomes this horrible gluttonous monster that someone needs to slay.
I'm thinking Akira right now in my head.
That's what it's like. No, that's what I visualize when I'm thinking of it. I'm thinking of like those gigantic, like humongous creatures at the end of Akira, and that's wow. Just someone needs to do something to EA.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's despicable. I mean, that it's a good studio. You've worked with them. Work with them more. Stop poaching their people. Why do that? It's not like one day, I don't know, slightly mad studios one day gonna just overtake you or something like that. This is the thing, is that every market, every industry is supported by bigger corporations, but by the little guys as well. Why do something to cripple the little guy? The little guy is there to basically keep the balance. And it's just like the Force. There needs to be a balance of the Force.
Like I could not agree more. And we're seeing a lot of big companies just throwing their weight around at the moment. So what with EA doing it, what with 2K Games, which we mentioned earlier, doing it, and the other big one which comes to mind is Warner Brothers throwing their weight around in terms of Shadow of War. A lot of the big companies seem to be doing that at the moment, and it's quite worrying, really.
Extremely worrying. Very, very worrying indeed.
But despite all the worrying stuff that's happening in the industry, there are some good things. So one thing, well, good things depending on subjectivity. For me, Fire Emblem Warriors has finally had its first set of DLC outlined. It will have a season pass that will include 3 packs of DLC covering 3 different games from the franchise. If I have got this correct, it will be the Fates pack first, then the Shadow Dragon pack second, then the Awakening pack third, which is DLC planned up until spring 2018, which is quite a long time, to be fair. No, was it spring 2018? No, it was the end of 2018, so that's even longer. So that's quite a lot of DLC. It starts from the moment the game releases. And also pre-ordering the season pass gets you a cute little bridal outfit for Lucina, which is nice.
Sounds good.
But the thing I like about this is it seems to be following the model that they used for Hyrule Warriors, which was, in my opinion, the best season pass that's ever existed ever in gaming. In every way, including the price, because the price of this DLC, this whole season pass, is £20. Well, £17.99.
Not bad.
Which gets you three DLC packs, which is confirmed. Every pack will contain characters from those games plus new weapons for the game.
Awesome. That sounds like a really good deal, actually. Like something to tide you over for like a whole year from the moment that the game comes out until next year. That's incredibly good. That's a pretty good bargain.
Yeah, and if you look at the Hyrule Warriors DLC, between the 2 season passes it had, it quite honestly, I think, came close to quadrupling the amount of content in the game, in the base game. And the base game was very full. But every DLC pack it had included new maps, new characters, new weapons, added other kind of quality of life things like increasing the level cap on your characters, increasing the number of items you could carry. The game just grew and grew and grew and grew. To the point that Hyrule Warriors now, if you have all of the DLC, is what is quite honestly probably the most robust Warriors game that's ever existed. So I have very high hopes that Fire Emblem Warriors will follow the same blueprint.
I could appreciate all the things you are saying because I am not really a Warriors player. I haven't played a lot. I mean, I've dabbled, like, very sillily a little bit in, Dynasty Warriors and in, what's it called? The One Piece version as well, like Pirate Warriors. And yeah, they're kind of fun, but it always felt like, I mean, this is not something I'm going to sit in front of a console to play. but with the Switch, it kind of feels like this is something that I would actually play on the go. Like, that would be great, you know, on the go, mindlessly beating on hundreds and hundreds of enemies. Sounds like massive, damn it, heaps of fun. So, yeah, I like that you're saying this. I like that you're saying that the Hyrule Warriors did so well, and it was a really good game. So I'm maybe, like, this might be the first Warriors I actually really sink my teeth into.
And I hope you do too, because if it because there's rumors about online multiplayer.
Ooh.
Which would be following the blueprint that was laid down by Dragon Quest Heroes, which is the same thing across by Dragon Quest, which had online multiplayer.
Sounds pretty good. I'm pretty excited. Like, a co-op of these games sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, you could each take in a couple of commanders and then switch between them on the fly. It would be a really fantastic kind of really different way of playing that game, and that way you could play it a lot more strategically as well.
Right, I'm really looking forward to it. And another thing that I'm kind of looking forward to, but I know really nothing about, but it did pique a little bit my interest from the little bit of info that came out, is this game called Project Nimbus. Specifically, the whole title would be, what was that again? Where the hell is this? Project Nimbus Code Mirai is coming to PS4, and I think that was a PC game in the fall, or was it the spring? Yeah, early 2018. It's apparently some kind of combination of, I want to say Zone of the Enders and with some, what's it called, Mech Warrior thrown in there kind of deal. It's a mecha game, basically, and that's not something we get a lot of. But it definitely kind of piqued my interest when they mentioned a little bit Zone of the Enders, because that's a game that I really loved when it came out, and I think some of the a little bit of art that they showed here and there, it was pretty cool. So yeah, if you're a mecha fan, that's something that came out of TGS actually. So I just, like, small news, but, like, you know, definitely worth mentioning.
That does sound interesting. I mean, there seems to be a little bit of a rise of mecha games recently.
What with Gundam Versus coming out soon?
The Gundam Versus, yeah.
That's actually
that
looks like a very interesting game, and it's pretty competitive in Japan apparently.
I played it at a fighting game event that I attended last month. I played the beta, and it's a very interesting game. It plays like a cross between a traditional fighting game with a kind. No, actually, I'd say the closest comparator I can think of is Dissidia. So you've got an arena, and it's more arena based, but with obviously as opposed to Dissidia, it's not so much as about getting up close. It's more about damaging from range. But it plays out very similarly to Dissidia.
That sounds really interesting. Yeah, I've played past Gundam games, and they're pretty cool. Like, yeah, it kind of gets close range as well, because you want to do some of your big damage with your swords or whatever. But yeah, depending on what Gundams are in Gundam Versus, which I'm really hoping for things like Strike Freedom and stuff like that. That sounds like it might be like a really good game. But generally, yeah, mechas are kind of getting on the rise a little bit here, and particularly with the announcement of Zone of the Enders VR at TGS.
I know, that threw me as well, actually.
What do you mean VR, first of all? Like, am I gonna be, like, actually in Jekuti and I'm gonna be fighting like that? Because I don't know, that might make me buy VR in the end, if that's true.
See, the thing is, I would much rather, I mean, if they are bringing VR, if they are bringing Zone of the Enders essentially to the current platform, I hope that it's a sort of Resident Evil 7 thing where you can play it in VR, but you can play it otherwise, because I would love to go back and play Zone of the Enders again.
Oh, I loved those games so much. And, like, yeah, I really hope the same thing, that there's, like, you know, the separate version like that. Because, yeah, Resident Evil 7 did that very well from what I understand. And, yeah, it would be really nice if Konami did that too with Zone of the Enders. But it's Konami, so I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, don't hold out too much on that one, I wouldn't.
No. And since we're mentioning TGS, how about we dive into that now?
We might as well, because a lot a lot came out of that, didn't it?
A lot, although I can't say they were all like any big bombshells either, right? Aside from like the Monster Hunter, at least the Monster Hunter announcement, like that was pretty big for me. But I don't remember anything that was particularly like whoosh. like that in your face.
Um, didn't the well, this is going to be the thing we talk about in every single podcast, but didn't the new character announcement for Dragon Ball Fighters come out during Tokyo Game Show?
Oh yeah, that was it. The Yamcha, Tien, those two,
And Android
and
21.
Android 21. Although we're still not sure if Android 21 is a playable character, right?
She must be. If she features that heavily in the story, they wouldn't make her unplayable. Surely.
I
Come on, Arxis.
Okay, yeah, don't dangle that in her face and then just take it away, right? No, I mean, well, she definitely has a very interesting design. Very interesting design. And I'm very curious because they did show like a little video where she's like kind of wearing like a lab coat. So that makes me wonder, is she kind of like is she gonna have like some kind of, I don't know, Kokonoe type of situation going on with the way she plays, if she is a fighter?
See, I can't believe this is exactly what I said to my friend. Exactly what you just said when Android 21 was announced. That's exactly what I said to him. Because having played Dragon Ball Fighters, obviously the build I played didn't have Tien or Yamcha or 21 in it, obviously. But the thing is, the characters that are currently in the game, with the exception of Android 16, are all very rushdown or zone. There's not any other character type apart from 16 who's a grappler. So to have something like Android 21 play like Kokonoe, where there's traps involved, traps and kind of manipulation of environment, that would be an interesting character archetype to actually get into the game to shake up the fact that there's so many rushdown characters.
And I mean, they would obviously do a trap character. I mean, Arxis has a pedigree with that, with Testament, with Kokonoe, with what else? What am I forgetting here? Even Dizzy from Guilty Gear. I mean, there's just so many. They do trap characters so nicely. So it would be a shame if they didn't include one in Dragon Ball Fighters.
It's almost guaranteed, but if it's going to be anyone, it will probably need to be 21 or another original character. Because if you watch the Dragon Ball anime, there's not many.
No.
The only other character I could think of that would fit into the Dragon Ball Fighters universe and kind of game that would actually be able to use traps and technology and stuff like that would be Bulma.
That would be actually very interesting to bring Bulma into the fray.
I know. That's the moment I started thinking about trap characters, I started thinking about about who would actually work as a trap character. When I thought of Bulma, I was like, Bulma needs to be in this game. Yeah, it'd be amazing. We do need, I mean, that's the only complaint I have about the game. We do need other types of character in it.
We need more other types of characters, and I'm sure they're going to deliver on that, to be fair. I mean, Arxis are really, really, like, hitting it out of the park with this game. I mean, they've just showed everything there. The game looks beautiful, looks gorgeous. That engine is unbelievably amazing. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that we're gonna see some incredible things come out of that game.
Another couple of little bits from Tokyo Game Show that intrigued me. I'm not sure whether they'd have intrigued you. Code Vein.
Ooh, yes.
We got a new trailer.
Yes.
Anime Dark Souls. That's combining together the two types of game I play.
Yep. That game looks so nice. And it looks pretty. It feels pretty Dark Souls from the trailers as well, and the videos that we've been seeing so far. The only thing that seems unique from Dark Souls is that you have like this other character that kind of assists you a little bit.
I reckon. I mean that was definitely in the trailer, but I'm thinking that's probably tutorial based.
You think
that guy will be with that guy? I'm guessing. I mean, I might be wrong because I can't read Japanese or understand Japanese. But I'm guessing that character's with you up to a point. So he shows you how to play the game, then he gets killed in some way. That's my guess. And I'm putting my hand down on that. And if I'm right, then I win. But I'm guessing he's with you as a tutorial sort of aspect, and then he either dies or disappears from the story in some way. But that's actually another thing which differs it or appears to differ it very greatly from Dark Souls. It's very implicit in its story as opposed to explicit.
Yeah, that's fair. And, well, the one thing that I feel might be a little bit different from Dark Souls is. I don't know what I haven't played the game, so I can't say for sure, but it doesn't feel like the combat is as slow and committed kind of combat that you get from Dark Souls or Monster Hunter. It feels like it might be a little bit faster in its combat, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm just putting that out there.
No, because it could end up being a sort of mix of Devil May Cry
That might
with
not be a
Dark
bad
Souls.
thing. I mean, combining
No,
those two things together seems like an interesting idea.
yeah, I mean, as long as it doesn't rely too heavily on the combat aspect in terms of like combos,
Yeah.
um, I would be totally behind. I mean, as it is, Code Vein looked great. I will definitely be keeping an eye on it because it looks completely up my street in terms of the way it looks and the way it appears to play at the moment.
Yeah, it looks pretty much what a anime Dark Souls should look like actually.
Yeah, agreed. Couldn't agree more. Um, but while we're on that topic, Neo Complete Edition.
That seems pretty interesting to me as well.
Samurai Dark Souls is now getting a complete edition with all the DLC, due out in November in Japan, I believe. Which means because it's already localized here, the complete edition won't be too far behind here. I'd guess by the end of the year.
But they didn't mention anything about a Western
No,
release, which is worrying. How did that game
no.
do in the West anyway? Did it do okay?
I think it did pretty good actually. It was more of a word of mouth thing, so it was quite close to like what the original Dark Souls was like, where it started off quite slowly, then word of mouth kind of increased its popularity over time.
Because I was monitoring a little bit its price because I was interested for a bit before I started playing Dark Souls 1, and the price like wouldn't let up. So I imagine that's kind of an
No,
indicator that the game is selling very well. So yeah,
I should hope so.
yeah,
They are doing if they're doing a complete edition, it definitely sold well enough
yeah.
to warrant doing it again.
Cool.
Um, and also, to be fair, that it's the best. I think it's the best time to buy the game. Then, to be honest,
I think so too.
when it's got everything in it.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think it might get some stragglers over there like myself who haven't picked it up yet. I mean, I'd definitely play a complete edition of that game, especially when I'm done with Dark Souls, the whole series at least.
You you've got some stuff to come
I
yet. I wouldn't get too cocky yet.
and I don't know. I think we're ripe for another Dark Souls or Bloodborne. If you agree with me, I mean, we haven't heard anything from yet.
A Bloodborne 2 would make me phenomenally happy.
Yeah, I'll bet it would make you phenomenally happy. What else came out of TGS? I'm a little strapped right now to remember.
To be fair, it was bits and pieces. I mean, we heard a little bit about Death Stranding, that's coming out before 2019, and will apparently feature a heroine, so a female playable character, which worries me a little bit because Kojima and female characters aren't don't go together as well as they'd like. I don't think, because
You didn't like
let's
Quiet?
not forget, yeah, let's not forget Quiet, shall we? Um,
There was
um,
also that other one, Left Alive, which again we have no idea what it's about. But apparently the one of the character designer from Metal Gear, he's involved with it, and the guy from Armored Core, was it? So it's probably something mecha related. But anyway, it's called Left Alive. We've seen like a very, very short teaser of it, and that's it. Take what you will from that. But yeah, I feel like character design, at least we know that's gonna be amazing, to say the least.
I mean, one thing I will say about Left Alive, the concept artwork that was shown off looks stunning. You can tell the Metal Gear guys that some of the Metal Gear guys were behind it. The aesthetic of it looks beautiful.
I'm kind of digging a little bit this mystery games. Ooh, we're
Mm.
Kojima, we're this, we're that, we're making something mysterious for you. Kind of digging this, although yeah, it would be nice to hear something a little more concrete, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it would be nice, but then again, we've got enough concrete until the end of the
That
year.
is true. That is indeed true.
I'm happy to wait for something that's a little bit less
Yeah,
concrete.
that is indeed true. Uh I'm gonna be fair a little bit about something with TGS is that I feel it's TGS kind of losing its luster a little bit
I can see
because
that.
it used to be like one of those big shows, and now it's not really as much, right?
It does seem that each year less kind of big news comes out,
Yeah,
which I would agree with. It seems to be that E3, no, not E3. Yeah, it is E3. Sorry, I thought I'd said something completely different. E3 seems to be the main focus now.
yeah, I agree with that as well. I mean, E3 is always well, it's pretty much always been the main focus. It's just now I think E3 kind of took a slump at some point, and then it just like kind of rose to glory once more, which is great. But
Mm.
I kind of prefer now that we've got more and more expos gaining traction. I'd like to see things like, big announcements sprinkled around. I don't want TGS to
Yeah.
lose that that expectation that it's TGS. We should be hearing something big there, so we should. Like, and then we've got
Mm.
EGX. Something big should be over there. Gamescom, that kind of thing. Like it's spread it around a little bit. Spread the love around a bit. This is what keeps people
Yeah, I'm amazed there's
excited.
not an expo in. I'm amazed there's not an expo early in the year to put these announcements on, because there's E3 in June, Gamescom in August, and TGS in September.
Yeah, and I mean, Blizzard did their big Hearthstone announcement at Gamescom. That
Mm.
is huge. They didn't do it at, like, of course, I don't know if they expected that the game was going to be as big as it became, because there's a lot of talk saying that they didn't expect that it was going to be this big. But it did. And this was actually a pretty big announcement from Blizzard regardless, because this is Blizzard completely changing form here, going from a
Mm.
company that spends years working on a single major project to suddenly saying we're going to do like these little other projects that you're going to really love and you're really going to spend a lot of money on. So that is like a
Yeah,
big
and
change
it's
of form
benefited
there.
them, and it's really benefited them.
Oh, absolutely.
Like financially and in terms of popularity, Blizzard has blown up quite literally.
It was already blown up enough with World of Warcraft, but now it's like stratosphere.
Yeah, yeah, yep, agreed. Stratospheric is the best way to describe it.
And I like that you put it that way earlier as well. So
Mm.
yeah, there's your weekend games, and I'll just apologize as well for this coming a little bit later for those of you who look forward to this on Mondays, but unfortunately, life gets in the way, and so do Nintendo get-togethers.
It was my fault. I was traveling.
Well, nobody's blaming you. It was for games, so it was for a good cause.
Yeah, that's very true. Actually, gaming's always a good cause.
And since we're all about good causes, what would you like to share with everybody?
The best thing that I can share at the moment is that all three of my EGX reports are up on ruethegamer.com. So you've got the Thursday report, the Friday report, and then the specifically Nintendo report. The reason that's separate is because I write for Nintendo Scene. So I did the Nintendo report first for Nintendo Scene, because that's my kind of main writing outlet. And then I just did the Thursday and Friday reports for my own thing that are just covering the stuff that wasn't Nintendo. Also, my review of Metroid Samus Returns is going to be on Rude the Gamer tomorrow night.
And for all of your reporting needs when it comes to writing and stuff, you definitely should go to Rue the Gamer, because this guy's stuff is awesome.
Thank you so much, Akibana.
No worries.
And yourself, where can we find all of your wonderful work and content?
Well, I don't know how wonderful it is, but yes, the latest episode of my Dark Souls series has been up since yesterday, and I'm relatively I've introduced a little new concept in there with the death counter. So yeah, if you guys really want to track how many times I've actually failed in this game, you can do it now. So since episode 25. So yeah, that's up on my YouTube channel, which you can find links in the description below, just like with all other links to both of our stuff, including our Twitters, where you can follow us right over down here. But if Twitter's not your bang, everything else is in the description below. And that's gonna do it for this week of games. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and we look forward to seeing you next time, where I'm going to be reporting from Greece.
Ooh, a change of scenery.
It's gonna be a change of
Lovely.
scenery, yeah. But I'm still gonna do the show because the show must go on.
Yeah, commitment.
Got it.
That's what
That's
we
what
like.
we're all about. Right. So thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
See you soon.